Hi, this is Peter Punzi, Horticulture Guy, and today we're going to be talking about growing plants in containers. First thing we're going to discuss is what soil to put into containers and how to use containers to grow plants. So first of all, we're going to start with what to put in a container. Now, you don't want to go right out in the garden and dig up some soil and put it into a container because it tends to compact down in that situation. So what you want to do is make your own blend. And so what we're going to start with, we're going to look at the components of my favorite mix. And we're going to start down here. We're going to start with some compost. And this is some nice compost. You can see there's little pieces of, still some pieces of wood in there. It's not completely finished, but it's pretty close, nice dark color. So 1/3 you want to have compost as a part of my mix. Then next I use what's called cocoa peat, or cocoa fiber, and this is a substitute for peat moss. And so you can use peat moss if you want, but if you can get access to this, it works much better because it actually has better water holding capacity. It doesn't shrink up when it dries, and it lasts a lot longer than peat. The third component I use is pumice. You can see it's very rocky, and this is to give it some drainage. This is to make sure you get some good drainage in the container. And you can use perlite or some other sharp sand or grit if you can't find pumice. And over here you can see what the mix looks like all together. Got a nice blend. You can see it's 1/3 of each. It makes a really nice mix. Now to this mix, I usually add a general all-purpose fertilizer, and I like to use organic fertilizers. So what I use, this is called biofish. You can see it almost looks like fish food, and one of the main components is fish meal. It has kelp meal and a lot of other good organic ingredients, and it's all-purpose fertilizer, and I usually mix that in to the soil. Now, if you want to forego mixing your own soil mix, you can actually buy some soil mix. I'm going to show you one of my favorite soil mix that's already blended over here. This is a down-to-earth mix. And what's great about this is it already has some nutrients in it. It also has some soil microorganisms blended in, so it gets the plants off to a good start. And here you can get a look at the mix. So any good all-purpose potting soil mix that has, you want to make sure you can see there's some pumice or perlite in here mixed in. All good mixes have that for drainage. Now here's some plastic containers that I have, and this is probably the smallest container you're going to want to grow any plants in. It's about a 6-inch container. This is about a 5-gallon. This is my favorite. This is the one I use the most. And a lot of people ask about, you know, what do I do with the drainage holes? Because that's one key. Any container you use, you want to make sure it has drainage. I like drainage holes on the side. Don't put anything to plug them up. Don't worry about it. Best drainage is if you just put the soil in and don't worry about it. When you're selecting containers, they don't have to be plastic. They can be made out of wood, they could be clay, they could be an old boot, whatever you like. Just make sure it's something that you could eat out of. If it's something that had bleach or some other chemical that you wouldn't feel comfortable eating out of, you don't want to use it for a plant. Now we're going to look at some of the plants that we started from seed that I started this late spring and are growing in these containers right now. So first we have the mints. And we have spearmint here in the back, and we have pineapple mint in the foreground. And this has a nice fruity kind of after smell to the mint. The reason I grow the mints in containers is because they tend to be very invasive when they're in the garden. They tend to spread and take over, and they're hard to control. So I grow them in containers, and you can see they really enjoy it. You can also grow herbs. Some of the annual herbs that I grow are parsley, and this is Italian flat leaf parsley, great for cooking, much more flavor than the curly parsley, and basil. And the basil does real well in containers, especially on my patio where it gets a lot of reflected heat and gets a lot of sun. You can see I've already had a couple of crops to make pesto already. Then we also have herbs that are not annual, that are actually perennial, but they'll only be perennial if they don't get a hard frost. And so these are plants that you grow in containers because you want to bring them indoors, either in a garage or in an enclosed room like a mud room. Up front here, we have marjoram, which is a great herb for cooking. And in the back, we have pineapple sage, which is in the sage family. and has a very fruity pineapple scent that you can use for teas. You can also do trees. Now this is a fig tree, and this is a fig tree that doesn't take frost very well, and it got died to the ground once, so I decided to pot it up and bring it inside during the winter. You can do that with a lot of your subtropical fruiting trees like lemons, oranges, and limes, kumquats, those types. Vegetables, almost all vegetables do really well in containers. Up here in front I have onions, and you can see they're already starting to bulb up, getting nice bulbs. I could harvest them now or wait until they get a little bit bigger. In the back we have eggplant. They really like the heat on the patio, and you can see I have a flower in here. So I'll be getting fruit pretty soon from this. You can also do perennials. Perennials really like being in containers. And over here, this is a yarrow, beautiful purple flowering yarrow. And then also, if you have tropical plants that you want to grow, this is a datura that I started from seed, and I've already had some blooms. They get those beautiful trumpet fragrant flowers at night. And here we have a kangaroo plant, which is related to tomatoes, but it's not edible, and it gets these nice purple flowers, and then you can see these green fruit that'll ripen to orange and red. So you can see you can grow a lot of different plants in containers. If you have any other questions, you can always find more out at horticultureguy.com. Until next time, this is Peter Punzi, Horticulture Guy. Live long and garden.